Hi there! So today I want to talk about The Miniaturist and The Muse by Jessie Burton, which are two of the books I've enjoyed most over the last couple of years actually, which I think is particularly impressive since they're Jessie Burton's first novels. I'm certainly not alone in enjoying them, as The Miniaturist went from strength to strength in bestseller lists and won countless awards, and similarly The Muse has received endless praise as well and has done extremely well. Jessie Burton's talks about the pressures this put upon her and the scrutiny she faced on top of the picking apart of the novel itself. And so I want to talk about why I think her books are great and why I think she's a really talented author, but I'm not trying to draw too many comparisons between her life and her art because I just don't think it's that relevant or particularly necessary. However, the idea of art and ownership is one that she explores a great deal in The Muse, so I want to think about these themes and how they relate to Burton's experience with success. I also want to say that there won't be any spoilers for either of the books in this video. I want to talk about the sort of broader ideas and themes that are in the books, but I'll leave out the specificities of how the plot progresses so that you can hopefully enjoy this video whether you've read the books or you're still planning to. I think the stories of real people are often at risk of being drowned out by the hubbub of historical debate, which is a real shame, and I really believe that the experience of the individual ought to be at the heart of history and certainly at the heart of historical fiction. That's why I've enjoyed the two novels written by Jessie Burton so much, that they bring to life a historical period through really fascinating and actually really diverse characters. The writing style shows a close engagement with the historical issues at play, and it's evident not only in the extensive notes and bibliography that are at the end of each of the novels, but also just in the style of writing itself. It has a sort of confident belief in its understanding of the time period that really sort of puts the reader at ease. Both novels, The Miniaturist and The Muse, to me at least, don't get bogged down in the historical specificities of that specific time period, but they rather engage with broader political themes that affect us regardless of time and place. The Miniaturist explores ideas of gender, sexuality and class through the prism of 17th century Amsterdam, whereas The Muse guides us through two very different historical periods while analysing the relationship between art, woman and identity. I think issues that are as pertinent now as they were in 1930s Spain or 1960s London. Looking at both of these novels together, I think they engage with the injustices of that time period and they question the extent to which these issues are still faced by us today. I think both novels deal with issues surrounding race, in The Miniaturist with Otto the manservant, and in particular the prejudices against interracial relationships, which are certainly, unfortunately, not only present in 17th century Amsterdam. And in The Muse as well, race is very important, with really its protagonist, Adele Bastian, a Trinidadian woman who moved to London 5 years ago. I really liked how the novel brought up the kind of implicit nature of racism, particularly in the instance where Adele's friend Cynthia had a neighbour who assumed that a letter was for her, even though it was from Nigeria, just because it had a black stamp. Adele herself is a product of the British Empire, but as she says, practically every Englishman, even the enlightened ones, believed we would have more in common with a Sudanese than with them. But what did I know of the Sahara, of a camel or a Bedouin? My ideal of beauty and glamour for my entire childhood was Princess Margaret. I think the novel questions the relationship between race and nationality, and it enforces something that I think some people still don't seem to understand, that a black person can indeed also be a British person. I think the novel shows that the label black, although it can be a word denoting empowerment, can also be a reductive term. I mean, Adele, as a Trinidadian woman, was influenced as much by Britishness as she was by her blackness growing up, and her realm of experience is entirely different to that of someone who grew up in Africa. So to equate the two is just ignorance. I think those arguments that this novel brings up are they're really interesting. I think the choice to represent a Trinidadian woman was a bold one for Jessie Burton as a white author, and I did see an interview with her where she expressed her concerns that it might be seen as cultural appropriation, or that she didn't have the right to represent the experience of a black person as a white person. However, she also said that the history of the Trinidadian people is one intrinsic to the history of London, and Odell is not only a product of her blackness, but is also defined by her womanhood and her creativity. And I think that's really important in this novel as well. I also think that it's the purpose of the author to inhabit a life different to their own and try and take on someone else's experiences, and I do think it would be a shame if authors limited themselves to representing characters of their own race. At the centre of both of these novels is a piece of artwork. In The Miniaturist, it's the elusive miniatures in the doll's house, and in The Muse, it's the equally elusive painting, Rufina and the Lion. And I think a thread running through both of these novels is the anonymity of the artist and a quest to discover identities. In The Miniaturist, the artistry of the doll's house and the miniatures is not really as central as artistry is in The Muse, and I think in The Miniaturist it's more trying to represent the extravagance of the consumerist society that Amsterdam was at that time. Petronella's not an artist herself, whereas in The Muse the two main female characters, really, Olive and Odell, are artists in some way. So to me it seems natural that the theme of art and identity comes up a lot more in The Muse. I also just really like self-reflexivity in novels and when they think about their own form, so I definitely think that's one of the reasons I really enjoyed reading The Muse. The exploration of these ideas about art and anonymity was definitely impacted by Jessie Burton's experiences with the enormous success that The Miniaturist became, and she wrote actually a really great blog post about the anxiety that this unprecedented success caused her, and I'll link it below because it's actually a really interesting read and really insightful. One sentence that really struck me from this blog post was, "A writer's selfhood vies with her need to make herself invisible in order to freely inhabit a simulacra of multiple lives in fiction." I think Jessie Burton's clearly interested in the idea of anonymity in art and both the potential benefits and drawbacks that it brings. Olive Schloss in The Muse is also an anonymous artist, and in a way this is a choice that she makes, not to reveal her talent to her art dealer father, but it is a choice that she feels compelled to make because her gender excludes her from the world of serious art. She implores Isaac Robles, whom her father believes painted the painting, to accept money for its sale, but he replies, "Art is not useful," and she says, "It can make a difference, it can help your cause." Isaac in the novel is heavily involved in the political activism at the time in 1930s Spain, but he doesn't want to accept financial help through artwork. This brings in another thread that I think's really interesting in The Muse, and that's the commodification of art. So Olive wants to sell this painting in order to financially benefit Isaac and his political cause, whereas her father wants to sell it in order to financially benefit himself, even though it was commissioned by his wife as a gift. Again, it's hard not to see the origin of this idea in The Miniaturist, which must have transformed the whole form of writing for Jessie Burton from something internal and private to something so external, public, and with great financial weight, I think, as she found out when it went to an 11-way auction in which Picador won the rights to publish the book. The dangers that enormous success can bring to artists, whether it be Odell or Olive or indeed Jessie Burton herself, I think is encapsulated in a really nice quote by Olive. She says, "I've seen what success does to people, Isaac, how it separates them from their creative impulse, how it paralyses them. They can't make anything that isn't a horrible replica of what came before, because everybody has opinions on who they are and how they should be." I think you see this across the board for artists who gain sudden success, that the pressure they come under actually hinders their creative abilities. In a way, this book then I think also serves as a warning that it's the artist's art that should be criticised and not the artists themselves. And to be honest, I think it's pretty incredible that Jessie Burton was able to even write this book, The Muse, considering the impact that the miniaturist had upon her, and not only just write a book, but write something that is as cohesive and meticulously crafted as The Muse is. I think it's fair to say that The Muse is in no way a horrible replica of what came before, and in many ways I think it's actually a superior book to The Miniaturist. I think Jessie Burton is a really talented author with a flair for language that is just sumptuous to read, really interesting narratives, and a genuine interest in history. If you enjoyed these two novels by Jessie Burton, I would highly recommend The Watchmaker of Siliguri Street by Natasha Pulley, which has, I think, the same pseudo-supernatural pool that The Miniaturist has, and it's also set in a really interesting historical period of late 19th century England, and it includes a clockwork octopus, so if that doesn't pull you in, then I'm not sure what will. Also, I'm currently reading The Essex Serpent by Sara Perry, which does remind me in some ways of Jessie Burton's writing, so I'd recommend that, and to be honest, I'll probably do a video on it if I continue to enjoy it as much as I am. And I'll put links below to all the books that I've mentioned if you want to find out any further information or if you'd like to buy one of them. But anyway, I'd love to know what you thought about these two books if you've read them, and hopefully you do if you haven't already. And also if you have any recommendations for similar books that I might like, that would be great if you could put them down in the comments. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!